Welcome to a Thursday edition of the Baseball Insiders. I'm Adam Weiner alongside Robert Murray, Fanside's MLB Insider. I decided maybe I'm not going to scream to start today's show, but then I was like, you got to hit that high energy, so I'm going to do it anyway. In your face to the haters who don't want me screaming, I'll talk at a normal volume. Robert, welcome to the show again, and today it's the time to revisit our preseason awards predictions. Now that the April players, pitchers, and rookies of the month are out, and we're off to an interesting start here.
A very interesting start. And I remember, I'll never forget the conversation we had in the days leading up to the season, that this felt like the most predictable season in recent memory. And then the baseball season just threw a giant pie in both of our faces. And the Pirates are now leading the NL Central with the Cardinals in last place. The Rays are unbeatable. They're on pace for like 130 wins, which is just what the heck. Turns out we know nothing. Well, we try to know stuff at least, and we try to bring it to you guys. But oh boy, who could have seen this start coming at them?
We know absolutely nothing. Not only is it not the most predictable season ever, but it might be the most unpredictable April in quite a while. And if you want to hear more of our predictions, more of our inside info, what we know and what we don't, find us live on the Baseball Insiders YouTube channel Mondays and Thursdays, 3:30 Eastern time. We're going to be here breaking it down. If you're onto the audio feed instead, that'll be updated as soon as we're off the channel live. But you get it first here. So we recommend you subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave comments, get in the conversation, have a chat with each other. And we're happy to answer your questions along the way, especially as we speed closer to the trade deadline. Today, in addition to all of our predictions, ill-fated or not, we are going to be talking about Matt Mervis and the Cubbies, news that broke shortly before today's show, in which I know many of you in the comments have been clamoring for quite a while. Plus, the Rays steal another arm, and we feel bad for Oakland fans. But we are going to start with our own materials and take you through our preseason awards predictions, as well as the players that have gotten special recognition for their work in April. And I want to start with the Rookie of the Year. The rookies of the – spoiler alert – we each picked 2 rookies of the year, one in each league, and neither of us picked the players who won the Rookie of the Month award. Before we get to our personal predictions, I honestly think, I promise I'm not just doing revisionist history. I think if you'd asked me to pick I had Corbin Carroll in the National League. I think if you asked me to pick second place, it would have been Jordan Walker. If you asked me to pick third, I think I would have picked James Outman. And he is your April Rookie of the Month, along with Josh Jung of the Texas Rangers, both of which were, not entirely off our radar, but pretty far off our radar.
No, exactly. And like Josh Jung, he's obviously somebody that the Rangers have really liked. He's been one of their top prospects. But like James Outman too, he was somebody that got a lot of buzz at Dodgers camp this spring. And he was somebody that if you talk to people around the team, they felt like he can play a huge role early on and throughout this entire season. First month has been exactly that. I know he's got a very unfortunate name for a hitter, but like he's been very good. And they needed somebody to step up. They needed a young guy to take charge because they lost a lot of pieces in the offseason. And I mean, key contributors. I mean, Cody Bellinger, obviously I think a change of scenery was for the best for him, and he's really done well in Chicago, but like that's still a big bat to replace, especially with the number of at-bats he got. Trey Turner, too. I mean, you're talking one of the best players in baseball. And so far, James Outman has done everything possible to help replace those guys. And it's he's been everything they could have hoped for him, and I think then some.
One of the sneaky, weird storylines of last year, and this is what comes from being the Dodgers, so you just have a tough time sneaking talent into your lineup, and I get it. But Outman came up last year, and all he did was rake. He played 4 games. He went 6 for 13 with a homer. He hit .462. He did strike out 7 times, but he couldn't find his way back into the lineup. And Miguel Vargas could. They were, Vargas was there through the playoffs. They always found a way to keep a struggling Vargas on the roster, but couldn't find room for Outman. In terms of, obviously a burner, why was Josh left off of a lot of people's radars? I mean, for me, I just thought the Texas Rangers were going to be kind of a middling outfit. And so I kind of figured maybe he slugs, maybe he doesn't, but not a whole lot of people are going to be paying attention to the 81-win Rangers at their ceiling. So, he could finish 6th in the Rookie of the Year, but I feel like he's not going to run away with this. You and I were both preoccupied with the flashier stars. And obviously I picked Yoshida and Corbin Carroll coming off the World Baseball Classic. You went with Volpe and Jordan Walker. And I think those would have been my number 2s in both of my picks. And I mean, so far only Walker's been a disappointment, but he wasn't even that bad. He just isn't here anymore.
No, exactly. And it's like, I'll give you credit for the Yoshida pick because I think you were on him even before the World Baseball Classic, or maybe I'm wrong about that, but like everybody was so low on him, and all of a sudden the World Baseball Classic happens, and then it's like, oh, maybe this guy's actually like really good. Maybe there's a reason why the Red Sox gave him $90+ million. But it's the Walker one was interesting because, as you said, his numbers weren't bad. He just got caught up in a log jam in the outfield, and they needed to clear some room to make that a little bit easier of a rotation and get him consistent at bats in the minors. So he was basically a victim of the numbers game. And who was my other one? Oh yeah, it was Anthony Volpe. Like if you look at his offensive numbers, they're not anything that crazy good, but if you watch him, he brings so much more to the game. He's got a really good baseball IQ. And something that I did not realize was how fast he was. What is he, 10 for 10 in steals?
Yeah.
He's a legit threat on the base paths. And is he a candidate now to steal like 50 or 60 bags this year? I mean, I don't know, but like with the way he's trending, stranger things have happened. He's somebody who the Yankees have been high on for a long time, obviously. And once he gets more consistent offensively, he's got a shot to be one of the best shortstops in baseball. He's that good.
Yeah, and he has looked really good as of late, dragged down by the early numbers. Even the StatCast stuff has been dragged down, but he's found the porch a couple times lately with a clutch homer the other day to cut a 2-0 deficit to 2-1. He hit a 2-run shot against the Jays to upend one of those games late. And like you said, on the base paths, every time he's on first, he could be on second in a millisecond. And he did that in the 8th inning 2 nights ago to basically extend a 3-2 lead to 4-2. Goes second, goes to third, scores on a single. Like he sort of makes it look easy.
He does. And it's like, I can't remember who exactly said it, but it was, if he walks, there's a very good chance it turns into a triple just with him stealing 2 bags. And it's like, I mean, it's not wrong. He's that fast. And I'm glad I bought stock in the Anthony Volpe business. I mean, I was far from alone on that one. That's not me coming out with something out of my hat here, but he's going to be really good. And what we've seen so far, he's only going to get better. It's being the shortstop of the New York Yankees is a very difficult position because there's been a lot of history there. I'm perfectly confident that he's going to be living up to that hype and being that guy long term.
Yeah, watching him every day, it's very obvious that he brings a lot to the table that you might not know from just looking at the 220 line, and also you wouldn't know that he was hitting 132 a couple of weeks ago, and he's been getting it pretty consistently, hitting 270 for a couple of weeks now with above average power. Yoshida, I was just scared of. Like I thought Yoshida was an overpay. We all did, and then we look at the projection systems that come out, and they all have him putting up like a 140 WRC plus. And it's like, wait a second. What does everybody know here that we don't? And then you watch him in the World Baseball Classic. I think he's somewhere between the hitter he was the first couple of weeks of the season, where he's just rolling over pitches instead of taking them to the opposite field, and the hitter he is now, where he's basically upper echelon in everything, hitting 370 over the past week of games, in addition to Jarren Duran, who's doing that as well, in addition to Connor Wong, who hit 2 home runs the other day. The Red Sox have 18 wins, 13 comeback wins. So if you want to know the recipe for infuriating me and getting my blood boiling, we found it. It's the Red Sox getting to play the "we got disrespected" card while also not winning that much. But every time they win, it's an impressive comeback, so they get style points. That's really how you get me. But Yoshida looks great. Obviously a burner. I think I don't think the press has been very hard on Volpe. I think they're letting him develop. To be perfectly honest, fans turned on him for like 2 seconds a couple weeks ago because he hit his first home run and they lost, and he smiled in the post game. So like one guy was like, "I wouldn't smile after I hit my first home run," and then the rest of Yankees Twitter was like, "Shut the fuck up, loser." But other than that, no, he's had a pretty easy road so far.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, like, I never understand that. Is like, I mean, the guy hit his first major league home run. you should smile after that. If you're not smiling, like, then you're in the wrong business. I will never give a player crap for smiling in that instance, especially with it being a regular season game a month into the season, or at that point it was even earlier than a month into the season. It was just, yeah, I don't get that. If you hit a home run, Anthony Volpe, you should smile, because it's good for the soul.
No, everybody came down on that guy. Like, Yankees Twitter can be toxic, but not there. It was like literally he was asked a question after the loss about hitting his first home run. It's not like they were like, how tough was this loss? And he was like, honestly, didn't even care. I hit my first home run. Like that. Okay, fine. I get it. But like, no, it was just in context. I once covered a Providence College basketball game where Marshawn Brooks, who I don't think anybody remembers at this point, but he was drafted by the Celtics, did not make it very far in the NBA. But he was the class of the Big East that year. He scored 55 in a loss to Notre Dame. And after the game, the press was like, how tough was it knowing that your career high came in a game that's so depressing for most of your teammates? And he was like, honestly, I want to thank God. This was an amazing game. I couldn't have done it without, myself. What an amazing day for me. And they kept pressing him to be like, but it's rough losing, right? And he was like, man, I'll never forget this day. This is perfect. It's like, okay, that guy, I think you can get on a little bit, but Volpe is a different story.
No, absolutely. Like, yeah, I mean, losing in that instance, that's not perfect, but yeah, I mean, Volpe is completely different. Like, yeah, you should just enjoy the moment. Yeah, I could go on a very long rant about that, but I don't want to get myself in trouble there. But Anthony Volpe, continue to smile, my guy.
Of course.
You deserve it.
Yes. If Wander Franco can flip a ball in his bare hand in the middle of a 6-3 grounder, then Anthony Volpe can smile after a baseball game. And by the way, Wander Franco can do that. He could do whatever he wants, but he can't drop it. That's what he can't do.
No, I'll tell you, that guy, as excited as I could possibly get. I love Wander Franco, and that entire Rays team. They're starting the season. I've been waiting for them to like come crashing down to earth. What do they start? 13-0.
Yeah.
And then like it felt like they were starting to like, I mean, somewhat come back to normal. Then I look and they were 13-6 in their last 19. And what are they, 26-6 now?
Yeah.
Last time I checked, that's pretty good. Yeah, math checks out. Like that's unbelievable. And the Rays, they may not have the highest payroll, but they have arguably the best player development. They have an awesome front office. They have an awesome coaching staff. It's unbelievable. They lead the league in basically every category. They don't lead the league in vibes. That's still the Pirates, but like, yeah. Man, God, the Rays are fun. Obviously a burner. I tip my cap. Oh, well, actually, I'll tip you my cap right here. Go Birds, by the way.
Ooh, that's a beauty.
Oh yeah, that's a little too big for my melon. So, yeah, I'll have to send it back.
I'm between sizes at this point. It's been very uncomfortable. I grew up a 7 3/8, and now I sometimes need a 7.5, but sometimes my head flops around in it a little bit. I want that to stop. I want hat manufacturers to stop doing that to me. We've been telling Yankee fans just with the Rays, it's like they're going to be 26-6. Like, you just got to wave at them. Like, what are you going to do? Like, there is something. They're either going to come to the back of the pack. They're either going to be right there and they're going to lose a little bit of steam and lose some games off this lead, or they're going to win 109 games. And in that point, you just got to be like, all right, well, we can't do that. So this is your year to win the AL East. Those are really your only options.
No, it absolutely is. And I'll tell you, God, I mean, how many games are they up now in the AL East? Are we talking?
A surprisingly low number because the Yankees are in last. So the Yankees are 8.5 back. The Rays are only 5 up on Baltimore, 7.5 on Toronto, 8 on Boston.
Yeah, I'll tell you, if you had the Rays and Orioles leading the division by this much, this we're not deep into the season, but after the first month of the season, I would have probably told you were nuts. That unbelievable. It's you look at the Rays, then the Orioles, Blue Jays, Red Sox too. They're 18-14, and they're a team.
They are fine.
Yeah, they're a team. I was adamant that I was not expecting much from. And yet here we are. That's a very competitive division overall. As expected, I just didn't expect the Yankees to be in last place at this point.
Yeah, you want to clip a rant that doesn't age well. There's one where I gave everybody the Red Sox May schedule, and I was like, they're going to get off to a hot start, but then they're going to cool down in May. they actually played the Pirates early, who are great, and we'll get to them later, and struggled early, and the Rays whipped them, and they were under 500. And now they're just over. They hit, they bludgeon the ball, and they've got the Mariners and Cardinals on that May schedule. So it's like, all right, I mean, is that scary? Not really. The Red Sox are fine. The Yankees are in last place and over 500. It's the best division in baseball. And the reason the Yankees are over 500 is April's AL pitcher of the month, Garrett Cole. It's literally just him. They have not lost a Garrett Cole start yet. They will, but they haven't. He's been better than he's ever been in a Yankee uniform. And this was, in my opinion, an easy nod, something I didn't see coming. He has not given up a single home run this year after that was the most devastating part of his 2021 and 2022 seasons. Again, he will. The Rays get him on Sunday. I'm sure somebody goes yard, but it has not been as much of a problem for him. And he's been able to carry a low ones ERA. And in the NL, it's Clayton Kershaw, which, come on, you cannot look me in the eyes and genuinely say, I believed in Kershaw as a 3-starter and as someone who could give you 6 innings, 1 hit on any given day, not the April pitcher of the month in the National League.
No, and it's like, I mean, Kershaw, he's just a guy who he just never, it's unbelievable. He's pitched in the majors this long, and you'd think there'd be some sort of a drop-off, and yet he's just been awesome. And Garrett Cole the same way too. And to focus on the Yankees here and Garrett Cole, is they've been able to tread water with so many guys on the injured list. They have Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Carlos Rodon, who's still, he hasn't pitched an inning yet.
No.
And you have, I mean, they've been without Donaldson. They've been out with a lot of their relievers. I think I saw at one point there was like $151 million on their injured list, which is just absurd. And yet they've treaded water. They're only 8.5 games back. And when they get these guys back on the field, they can easily make up that deficit. I've seen a lot of people press the panic button on the Yankees. Brian Cashman said, "Don't give up on us. This is a championship caliber operation." I believe him. That is a very good operation they have there. The fact that they've stayed above 500 this long without all those guys is a testament to that roster, especially Garrett Cole. Do not sell on the Yankees, because that could end up looking very foolish toward the end of the year.
Objectively, they should be worse. Like, they're 17-15 and stuck in the mud, and there's no way they should be 17-15. Domingo Germán's been pretty good. They yanked him from a near complete game the other day and blew the game, but he's found his footing. Clark Schmidt doesn't have a win and has been one of the historically worst Yankees starting pitchers in the history of the franchise. Johnny Brito started brilliantly and now can't really get through 4 innings, and honestly, you take what you can get from him, but the rotation has been pretty bad. Everybody behind Garrett Cole has either been average or much worse. The lineup includes Willie Calhoun, Jake Bowers, Franchi Cordero, Kyle Higashioka, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Aaron Hicks on a regular basis. Harrison Bader came back 2 days ago and got kicked in the head yesterday and may or may not have to miss some more time. It's been a disaster area, and they are over 500, which is objectively insane, especially when you look at the Cardinals roster, a better roster. They're about to be 10-22, and they're like in mega last place. They're not even in the conversation. You can't see them in the standings, and that roster is better than what the Yankees are putting out.
Oh, yeah. The Cardinals roster is loaded, and, I mean, their pitching staff leaves a lot to be desired, but they're hitting loaded, and yet they're just a big pile of poo-poo. I mean, it's, again, not a scientific term by any means, but that sums up what they are right now. They're just a hot mess, and they have to ask themselves a lot of questions internally about what the heck is going on. Is it a roster construction issue? Is it a managerial issue? Is it just a talent issue? Is it a mix of all of the above? They got to figure that out, and they got to figure it out soon. It's really unfortunate, and I'm wondering at what point, if this continues, when do the Cardinals have to ask themselves if they need to make a change, either in the front office or the manager spot? I don't think they would do it with Mozeliak. I don't know if they do it with Ali Marmol, just because they've invested so much in him. They fired a highly respected manager, Mike Schilt, to put Marmol there. that's a really tough one for that team and build with the owner to figure out. But boy, they gotta figure this out soon, because with the way this is trending, they could be out of this before too long.
It's a deeply strange roster to make trades with too, because there are not many pitchers that many contenders want their hands on, because they're watching the Cardinals pitchers sink this team right now. So it's a tough sell to say, yeah, we'll give you Steven Matz, sure, but they're in a lot of trouble. And then it's a lot of young players, young outfielders, players who the Cardinals deemed to be a part of their future, and players who the Cardinals thought were going to take them to the NL Central Championship this year. So to say, oh, you got to cut bait on Nolan Gorman or Dylan Carlson, it's tough to make that decision midstream when you don't know what your own future looks like and you're not really selling high on anybody.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's difficult too, because I mean, Tyler O'Neill seems like a prime trade chip, but you'd be selling extremely low on him. Lars Nootbaar got a lot of interest in the offseason, but they are adamant about holding on to him. The one guy this is not like a trade thing, but like the one that is just mind blowing to me is the slow start from Nolan Arenado.
Mm-hmm.
He like I've watched games of theirs, and is he healthy? I don't know. I haven't heard anything there. That's just me speculating, but something just doesn't seem right there. And he's a big part of that operation, obviously. And if he's not going, that's tough. And this is probably, well, I take out the word probably. This is definitely not what he envisioned when he opted into the remainder of his contract in St. Louis. He thought they'd be a contending team. And yet somehow they're like in the conversation with as bad of a team as the Rockies so far this season, which that also is not on my bingo card. That's just another way of this baseball season being incredibly unpredictable. But the Cardinals one is just mind blowing to me. That is the last thing I could have seen coming. But yet, I still think they turn it around eventually.
They have to. I mean, Nolan Arenado, pick your poison right now between the Rockies and Cardinals. It's certainly not how he envisioned the second half of this big contract going. In terms of a complete mess, you've got our Cy Young picks. I had Kevin Gausman in the AL. You had Jacob deGrom in the AL. Gausman off to a pretty good start, but not a Garrett Cole start. You had Corbin Burns in the NL, and I had Logan Webb. I think it's important to mention, when we're talking about a big pile of poo-poo, Logan Webb dropped an historic quote yesterday.
I was
talking about the end of a road trip, saying the whole trip has been a grind. It's been a mental grind and a physical grind. 3/4 of our clubhouse has the shits. It'll be good to get back home. Hopefully the shits go away. Yes, Logan, hopefully the shits go away.
Yeah, God, yeah. Hopefully the shits go away. That should be a T-shirt. I would.
That's an all-timer. That's a RotoWare all-timer. Maybe like a pitching ninja Giants colors, and then hopefully the shits go away underneath. I'm just giving you free money.
Yeah, honestly, take my money. I'd buy 30 of them. That'd be. I give them out to the entire Murray family. I know my dad's watching right now because he's texting me, and Dad, I would buy you one for sure. So. Yeah, what an awesome quote. I saw that quote when I woke up this morning, and I thought it was like someone just impersonating like a Giants beat writer, and then I clicked and it was actually like Alex Pavlovich or Susan Slusser, and I'm like, it's gonna be one of those days, isn't it? And
yeah.
Lo and behold, it has been.
Logan Webb fully decent so far this year, 3.80 ERA, 48 Ks and 45 innings. Pretty good at run prevention, apparently not good at runs prevention. Now in the MVP column, you and I had the same picks, and we didn't put much thought or effort into these, to be honest. We didn't have April Player of the Month in the NL, Ronald Acuna Jr. Good pick. I think we could, if we tried. If you asked me to come up with 5, I might have gotten to Acuna in my top 5. But AL Player of the Month, Matt Chapman, no chance. I thought Matt Chapman was going to bust this year. We both had Ohtani and Trey Turner as the MVPs. And I mean, Ohtani, there's plenty of time, and I feel like he's obviously more likely to win the MVP than Matt Chapman. But mercy on ice. I mean, I guess you got to give him the honor for the month.
Oh, you absolutely do. And like I also want to give Adam credit because we have Kurt Menching, our wonderful Kurt Menching, I should say, and then obviously Burner giving credit for those wonderful puns for the runs. Yeah, that was quite good. But yeah, Ohtani is just. You run out of words to describe Ohtani, and what he's done offensively and pitching wise this year is just it's unbelievable. And I've said it time and time again, but we've never seen anything like this. And I remember entering the season, he obviously had all eyes on him from the World Baseball Classic. He's entering a free agent year. I wondered if any of that kind of spotlight could get to him and maybe just lead to a slow start. And it's been exactly the opposite. He's just been dominant. And that guy is just like, he is going to get paid. He's trending in the exact opposite direction of Juan Soto, who's basically just that looks like a big mistake turning down that $440 million extension. But Ohtani, that contract is going to be absurd, dude. If he continues this, holy cow. His agent, Nezbolello of CAA, has to be just salivating, thinking about going to that open market, because that is, we're talking a historic contract, not just in baseball, but in sports. And enjoy Ohtani while we have him. It's going to be we're going to have him for a long time, but my goodness me, what an absolute treat he is.
You have to wonder if he's not only literally, like metaphorically, watching his contract go up while Soto's goes down, but whether he's actually taking the San Diego Padres money out of Juan Soto's pocket and putting it in his own. Like, it really might be a direct 1-for-1. Like, we were gonna, but now we're gonna do this. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and oh boy, I'll tell you, if he somehow ends up on the San Diego Padres, AJ Preller, you are going to officially be my favorite executive in sports history. That would be absolute madness, putting him on that roster. I don't know if they could actually pull it off. Peter Seidler, he's got deep pockets. I was going to use a different adjective, but yeah, it's rather impressive what he's done, and I wish more owners were like that for sure. And yeah, obviously a burner. What's Soto's trade value? I still think it would be relatively high, just because we're talking about a talented player who's got a couple of years of control yet. But obviously it's not what it was. That trade so far has been a big swing and miss for the Padres.
Yeah, and deep pockets, though, can be helpful because they give you more room if you got a big other stuff. Let's talk about Chicago Cubs. Let's talk about the Chicago Cubs. Let's pivot to reality instead of wallowing in our award predictions, which surely will become even more insane as the year goes on. The Cubs actually called up Matt Mervis today, just a couple hours ago, and I had our outline today had Matt Mervis time ? And now it just has Matt Mervis time ! Not a lot of changes had to be made, but we got to talk about him anyway. He's coming to save a Cubs team that's floundering a little bit. Just got walked off by the Nationals today. I believe they went 1-6 on an East Coast road trip after decimating the West Coast and are now one game under. So no better time to hit the Mervis button. Although the other best time to hit the Mervis button would have been like a week and a half ago when all Cubs fans still wanted to see him and didn't want to see any more Eric Hosmer. What can Cubs fans expect from this move? And do you have any other prospects you're eyeing that might get the call soon throughout the league?
Yeah, the Mervis was not somebody that was on my radar until probably about late last year. It was during the Arizona Fall League, and I had scouts, and I was at these games, and I kept hearing about this Matt Mervis guy, and he won AFL Player of the Year. He just burst onto the scene, and he looked like a guy who could be a legit dude. We're talking big power, and immediately he skied up the Cubs prospect rankings. Scouts were just continuing to buzz about him, and there was even a conversation this spring whether or not he would end up making the Cubs off on the opening day roster. Didn't get there exactly. But with Eric Hosmer struggling at first base, this was like the perfect time to call him up. Now he's going to join him at some point this weekend. And it's another really talented young player who's going to join that Cubs team. He's not their top prospect. That's Pete Crow Armstrong. That is a player. I have been adamant on this podcast. I think it was with Carm that I think Pete Crow Armstrong is going to be a very, very, very good player, especially in center field. He's got range for days. The Mets giving him up in that Javi Baez deal was an absolute mistake. I said it from the day it happened, and I'll say it again now. That was a mistake by the Mets. And Pete Crow Armstrong he's not going to debut this season, most likely. We're looking at like a 2024 timeline there. But boy, they with Mervis coming up, that's just like another taste of the young talent with the Cubs, and then with Pete Armstrong debuting next year. Oh, baby. Going to be a good time.
Yeah. Pete Crow Armstrong is pure star power, so much to the point that both his parents were on the television show Heroes, and his mom was in the movie Little Big League. So that's how you know he's legit.
No, I mean, if that isn't a sign he's legit, I don't know what is.
Well, let's go to the Pirates, mostly because I want to put some anonymous rival exec on blast. This caught my attention immediately. I said it to you right away, and you were like, yes, you were correct to do that. This is from Jason Stark's column this week, and the quote comes from a rival executive, but there's no way it's not someone who watches the Baseball Insider. So we need you to pop into the comments right now and tell us who you are. Here's what he said about the Pirates. Quote, do I think the Pirates are going to make the playoffs this year? Probably not. I think they have some good vibes right now, and they're playing well, but I don't really think the Pirates are going to have a top 10 pitching staff by the end of the year or a top 10 offense. But what they're doing now is giving positive signs to believe, and I can see the makings of a good team down the line. How many times do we have to say the Pirates are the all vibes team in Major League Baseball before we get the copyright money that is owed to us when some rival executive says it too? This is getting embarrassing.
Yeah, it's. I'll tell you, it's like a straight transcript from our conversations here. Obviously, it's not Jason Stark is wonderful at his job, but like that is exactly like what we've been saying on this podcast. Is the Pirates are just an unbelievably vibey team. I've talked to numerous people in and around that team, and they all just rave about morale throughout that entire organization. It is, this is better than I think they could have ever expected. First place in the NL Central. Their offense is doing really well. Their pitching has exceeded expectations. That Vince Velasquez injury today, I mean, possible elbow injury, kind of scary just considering he's been off to such a good start. But like, I was worried that O'Neal Cruz the injury to O'Neal Cruz may end up hurting the vibe, but the vibes have carried them, and it's just been a really strong start for them overall. I don't think they win the division, but I am absolutely buying them as a playoff team. I have a piece that's coming out on fansided.com at some point today, and it's buy or sell on four of these early season developments. I'm buying the Pirates. There's a little sneak peek. I think the Pirates are here to stay as a playoff team this year and then and beyond too, because they got some dudes in the minor league system. And I figure they're going to be spending more too in free agency. This is not something that I think I've said on this podcast, but it is a good time to be a Pirates fan right now.
It truly is, and they're doing it without Cruz and without any offensive contribution from Ke'Bryan Hayes, who is, he's got 0.7 B-WAR right now because he's a defensive masterclass every day, but 222 with a homer and a 72 OPS plus, and the Pirates are still running aground to the rest of the field. Although, of course, they go to Tampa. What can they muster in Tampa? Absolutely nothing. You want to get humbled, you go to Tampa Bay to play the Rays. I am so grateful that the New York Yankees are entering their 3-game set with the Rays, 2 games over 500, because they leave it at under 500, folks. They are not winning a game down there.
Well, Adam's on record right now, and I think they're going to win at least one. I'm gonna go on record with it right now. I'm more optimistic than you are, although I don't know if I could be more pessimistic than you are. The fact that you don't even think they're going to win a single game.
They do have Cole. They have Cole going on Sunday, so it's helpful. It's ordered in the right direction, so that if you lose the first 2, you have your best shot at one on Sunday, rather than tripping over your own tongue in games 1 and 2, and then it's like, oh, Clark Schmidt in the finale. I promise you I did not mean to do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of poop talk on this podcast. Jesus. Hey, I mean, I'm here for it, I guess. I don't know what to say, Adam.
I gotta cut myself off. I gotta transition away from Adam Weinreb as host of the Baseball Insiders. I'm gonna toss it to somebody else. I can't do this anymore. No, I absolutely can. But I do think I need to put myself in timeout. I pledge that was not on purpose. That's not what I call them in my group texts. You can check the evidence. It's just not. Well, the Rays did get an extra arm this week. They did. The Rays traded for Chase Anderson out of AAA with the Reds, and it's easy to dismiss But even more so this year than any other year, I think you got to eagle eye every Rays transaction and say that Paul Dano meme. Like, does he know? It's like, what do they know? Why are they poaching a traditional pitch to contact, aging mid-30s guy from AAA? They've got Springs on the shelf, Bads on the shelf. Glass now hasn't come back yet. Pete Fairbanks even hit the IL this week. Is it a hint of desperation finally from a Rays team, or do they see something that we don't see?
Yeah, the Rays they're familiar with Chase Anderson. They had him on the roster at some point in recently, and he was with the Reds, and he had an opt-out clause in his contract, and they were able to at least get something for him. I don't know what they got exactly. Probably wasn't much at all, but it's somebody that they're familiar with. It's a veteran who has performed really well in Milwaukee in years past. He's got starting experience. He can pitch out of the bullpen if needed. And if there's ever a team who can get something out of a pitcher, it's the Tampa Bay Rays. I don't put anything past them at all. I don't think this is going to end up being one of those ones that turns into like the next Jason Adam, where he becomes one of the best relievers in baseball. But it's a guy who can provide innings, especially when they need them. Good depth overall, as I said before, somebody that they're familiar with. I don't think it's anything that's could be too flashy, but depth is depth. That's always important in baseball.
Other opt-outs are beginning to happen now too. Like, you're going to start seeing these depth pieces floating around. I got my eyes on Gary Sanchez. John Heyman pegged the Angels yesterday for him. I'm looking there. That makes sense. But I'm looking forward to his next landing spot. Tommy La Stella's too is another guy where I'm like, look, the numbers are bleak, but if somebody picks up Tommy La Stella, I'm automatically going to be at least a little bit intrigued.
No, absolutely. I mean, considering his past, it got released by the Mariners about like an hour ago, I believe that was officially. He's probably a candidate for a minor league deal. Although Dominic Leone, he ended up getting a major league deal with the Mets today. I mean, that was not something that I expected, but they also were a team who desperately needed arms too. But yeah, La Stella is probably a very strong candidate for a minor league deal, but when he signs, it'll be notable just because of his name and his history that he's had.
Yeah, they have been, by the way, since as long as I'm allowed to talk on podcast live streams, I'm going to go ahead and say that the Yankees are 17-15 and in last place in the East and are getting pooped on to a degree that is probably not earned, while they share a city with the 16-16 Mets who've been shut out this year and just had Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander lose on back-to-back days to the Detroit Tigers. The New York media is supposed to be hard on everybody. I don't really hear anybody talking about the Mets who are worse than the Yankees with a better roster. Sorry.
No, me neither. And I mean, both those teams invested mega dollars in their rosters this offseason, and yet the result has been 500 or just slightly above 500 play. I am kind of very surprised that we have not heard more criticism, but surely that is coming, especially if this continues. The Yankees, I give them a free pass for sure, just because of all their injuries, like I mentioned before. The Mets have obviously dealt with their fair share of things too, but that roster is really underperformed. And the Francisco Lindor, I know last year eased a lot of concerns for people, but he's off to a really slow start this year. I mean, I'm not pressing the panic button yet there, but I wonder at what point those concerns grow louder if these struggles continue.
Francisco Lindor is the reason why a lot of people don't trust advanced stats, because you've got the New York market. You've got a player who is hitting in the low 200s with less power than was sold. And you look at Baseball Reference and he's at 1.2 BWAR right now. And it's like, you just can't tell a Mets fan that is real and that is worth $300 million, as the comment section saying.
No, exactly. And like, I mean, obviously a burner, you're asking is he the worst $300 million contract player? I would want to think about that. I'm hesitant to say yes, just because he's shown that he's got the ability still. Even last year, he looked really good. Let me think about that one and get back to you. I don't want to give an answer right off the top of my head without thinking that one through, but it's an interesting question.
Can we answer after Juan Soto signs his deal this offseason?
Oh, God. Yeah, oh, boy. I mean, yeah, it was $440 million. He turned that down, and then here we are now. That's a hell of a gamble. I mean, that's right now. I've heard that mentioned to me by a lot of different people. Yeah, it's not good. Not good.
Yeah, sorry, man. We're going to Soto shuffle on out of here because I got to runs. But before we leave, I do want to give a shout out to the disgusting situation in Oakland where 2,583 people attended Tuesday's game. And that's like the nice number. That's like the number they tell you. That's not the real number of people who are at that baseball game, which like that number might include people, concession stand workers, etc. And they missed, if they stayed home for that puppy, a double perfect game bid between Mason Miller of the A's and Bryce Miller in his MLB debut of the Mariners. It's not the A's fans' fault they're not there, but it was a stark reminder to me of the fact that there's still great baseball being played in these otherwise irrelevant contests. You never know what you're going to see when you go to a game, and A's ownership is scaring these fans away and basically telling them, you should not come to this. We do not care about you. And they're missing great things because of how little fan service there is in this community, where they're going to be stuck for several more years at the very least. Can we at least do something here to boost fan excitement? I don't know if we can. We might be fully lost, but free tickets would go a long way. Free possums, anything we could do to get people in the ballpark in Oakland, because the community clearly is there to care about baseball, but the ownership does not care about the community.
No, it's sad as heck, and I could use a lot stronger language there, but I'm trying to keep this PG after our start earlier.
After the AJ Preller segment of the podcast that
that good call. I forgot about that part of the show, but boy, what a wild show this has been. But it's the A's. That's probably the most unfortunate and sad situation in sports right now. Is like that team. It doesn't feel like ownership really cares about it. And it's just like, I mean, we have possums that are flying around that stadium like you wouldn't believe it. I mean, they're popping into the press box trying to write stories for all the ball writers. And it's sad. It's really sad. And that situation could have been a lot better, because that's a very passionate fan base out in Oakland. And yet they just doesn't seem to care. That roster stinks. Really, they made changes up and down the roster today, especially in the bullpen. But I mean, they're nowhere close to contention, and ownership should be ashamed of themselves. And I feel really bad for that Oakland franchise, or the fan base overall, because they simply just don't deserve that.
Their roster stinks. Our roster's great because we have FanSided's MLB insider Robert Murray on with us twice a week to talk through the headlines, the predictions, the projections, and the rumors around Major League Baseball. And this was a power-packed show, but it's also what you can expect every Monday and Thursday at 3:30 Eastern. I will not be quitting my day job because of the run stuff, but I do it for you people. I appreciate the comments. I like to be appreciated. Take that pause. But no, I will not be quitting my day job. I will remain at my day job, continuing to host this show, which will be available on all podcast platforms as soon as the live stream is over and streaming right on this YouTube channel, with a perfect and ample opportunity for you to hit subscribe, smash like, and come join us every Monday and Thursday, not just during the trade deadline, although be an early adopter, be a member now. And when we're here recounting rumors and taking you through the entire database, you're going to be able to say that you were here when, and you watched me accurately predict the Yankees being swept in Tampa this weekend. I know Yankee fans are supposed to be brash and cocky. It just does not suit me. I will never do that. I will always say that we are going to L rather than say we are going to dub. But you know what? Red Sox fans all offseason were like, don't sleep on us. Now they get to enjoy their very exciting and fun, frisky team. So maybe I should enjoy myself more. This is getting too existential. Robert Murray, thank you so much for joining us, man. This was fantastic as always.
No, thank you as always, my guy. It's always a pleasure being here. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, leaving those comments. More than appreciated. It allows me to eat lunch like I'm about to in a little bit. But yeah, we'll see you guys, Monday, Adam?
Yeah, we'll be back Monday. Same time, same place next week. No restrictions, no rules, no parents. Just a great live streaming podcast.
Heck yeah, no parents. Let's go, baby. Yeah, awesome.
We should do parents once, though. My dad will come on the show. I promise you that.
my dad would come on the show too in a heartbeat, but yet he tried to embarrass me. I know how he is. But oh boy, I know he's watching the show right now, and he's going to be getting at me for getting him on the show. That's going to be, oh boy, I'm already worried at him. That's going to be an adventure because Neil Murray is an absolute G. He's the best. So I don't know if the world is ready for him.
No, mistakes were potentially made making this show the show that dads were watching. But you know what? You just never know what you're going to get on the Baseball Insiders. And we did it. We got to the end. We were not yanked off air. We were not canceled. We're still here.
No, that's not canceled yet, evidently. So we got that going for us.
No, we're still plugged in, and we'll see everybody on Monday, same time as normal. For Robert Murray, I'm Adam Wander. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, everybody.